a star tonight. Intergalactic light so bright. Dakota show so out of sight. Blast off now, take flight. Aliens and rockin' tunes, country beats under the moons. Space dust in my boots, all new. Gigolo's hosting soon. Welcome to the galaxy. Radio waves so wild and free. Tune and feel the energy. With Dakota ride the beat. Planet spin to every song.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Dakota Franson. I am the one, the only intergalactic gigolo. Oh, I've been really falling behind on getting this up to date. My goodness. Woo-wee. How is everybody today? Are y'all doing good? I hope y'all are doing good. We are in September. Today's recording is September 15th, 2024. Oh, man. I don't know about y'all, but is it just me? Or does this year seem to be flying by awfully quick? I don't know about y'all, but sometimes when I get this feeling that things are flying by, it means something big's gonna happen. Exactly what? I don't know. Maybe our friends from the sky will make an appearance. Maybe. The world just seems to be full of maybes, ain't it? Oh, man. And maybe, as the weather starts to cool off, these pollen counts can finally calm down so everybody can fucking breathe around here. My goodness. Whew. Seems like everybody's got a little something going on these days. So, like I said, today is September 15th, 2024. It is currently 12:42 a.m. at this time of recording. So, I know there's a lot of people that are still adjusting to the new flow of things with some of the recent changes that have come up. And there's some people that have been still asking, what's going on, or, why is this going on? Why is that going on? Everything okay? Everything's okay, guys. It's just been time for a change. Personally, I felt a bit dissatisfied how things were going. Now, don't get me wrong. I fully acknowledge that there's going to be high points. There's going to be low points. That's just life. And especially when you put yourself into this type of public perception, public position, things are a little bit more, how do I put this? Things feel like they're a bit more on a high wire. They're on a high wire. They're going to go haywire at any moment. It can just feel like madness. And there's not a lot of people that can really handle this type of lifestyle because it can be mentally draining. Like the other day, I popped on to my Streamlabs account to record a little update message live, and some people got concerned due to some idiotic children trying to stir up fights in the chat. Trust me, I'm fine. I've dealt with a hell of a lot worse than a bunch of losers on the internet. And I'm done. I'm done worrying about that. I've come to this conclusion, right? People who rely on receiving attention, receiving human interaction over the internet, clearly something has derailed in their lives. Something has. Exactly what? I don't know. That's something that should be evaluated on a case-by-case situation. But, I've talked, with my girlfriend because we get into some philosophical conversations in regards to some of the things we got going on. And, we're just talking about our day and getting into deep conversation. And I've had conversations with some of my personal mentors over the years. And a lot of them, we all pretty much come to the same thing. Whatever it is that happened in this world, we've come to a point where people simply don't understand how to be human anymore. And with the advent of artificial intelligence, that line is going to get blurred even further. But I digress. And it's not a recent thing. It's not just because of social media, but social media is one of the latest nails in the coffin. It started when parents had to work more, leaving their kids at home, teaching them how to cook and clean and prepare for themselves. Which, granted, don't get me wrong, those are things that they're going to need to do in their lifetime as they get older. But by the time their parents get home, the children are fed, they're probably half asleep, homework's probably done, and they're going to be getting ready to go to bed for their own day. And there's no time for interaction. From a parent's perspective, they're wanting their kid, say, hey, turn off the Game Boy, it's time to go to bed and all that. And, they're wanting to have these personal conversations with these kids. But in reality, the situation as it is, now granted, they're doing what they can to get by. They're trying to make sure, there's food on the table, there's a roof over their heads, all that. They're doing their best to get by, but at the end of the day, it severs the interpersonal connections. It severs it. There's no personal attachment anymore. And the only time that people get a reaction is when yelling, screaming, hitting. People get this idea that abuse, young girls have this idea that they have to put themselves out there, let guys have their hands all over them just to have fucking attention from another human being. So I take pity on these individuals. I do. Because something has seriously had to go wrong in your life to think any of that behavior is actually acceptable. And there's one thing that came up is that the people that accept this abusive behavior towards them, they think that is an aspect of love. But in reality, if you truly love something or someone, would you want that individual to hurt others? Would you? Would you want them to hurt themselves? No, you don't. You want them to be happy, to be healthy, to not have to really worry about too much about what's going on in life, You want them to be able to grow, to prosper. You don't want to have a situation escalate to a point where you're going to have no choice but to either hurt someone you think you care about or let them potentially hurt you. And I'm not just talking, you get into an argument, it's something minor, like you both kind of had rough days at work. You kind of haven't exactly, vented that energy yet, and something else goes off and it triggers you. That's relatively minor stuff, and it can happen to anybody. But I'm talking about the situations where the abuse gets so intense that it either creates a downward spiral of self-destruction, of drugs, of alcohol, of sex even, or it just ends up in someone dead, or both. And we have this delusion that, it's not our responsibility to protect someone. Now, granted, yeah, if someone truly wants to change, they have to be the ones to make those steps. You can offer help and support wherever you can, but they're the ones that have to reach out. And unfortunately, sometimes it gets to the point where you have to say, you know what, enough is enough. I'm done. I'm gone. I can't watch you do this to yourself. Because believe me, I've been in those situations where I didn't listen to the voice that said, you should probably walk away. This is not your fight. And people got hurt. Majority of the situations were self-defense, where it was obvious that had someone not stepped in, the situation was going to be much worse. And I'm bringing this up because this is a bit of a philosophical debate when it comes to the extraterrestrial side of things. And it's something I've seen over and over again. When the fragments of truth start to leak through. That this whole situation is not rainbows and unicorns. It's not. Situations are never black and white, plain. And one thing that always kind of bothers me, and like I said, this is coming from someone who has seen the worst of it, who has seen the worst of it and has had to make tough choices against people I cared about at the time in order to keep them from hurting themselves. Did I eventually lose those relationships in time? Yeah, but they're still alive. A majority of them have gone on to do bigger and better things, and I'm happy for them. But once again, that bounces back to this feeling that we don't want to be alone. And out of that desperation, we can do some pretty heavy things. This has certainly been a bit of a sad start to the episode. All I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, is that yes, there is manipulation taking place, but it's the fact that we have let people manipulate us that allowed it to get this far. And slowly, but surely, things are turning to where it'll be better in time, which in itself could be both a good and a bad thing, because had we not had these horrific things transpire, what would have been the motivation for people to make something better? Conflict will always exist. There will always be people, some of which you think are going to be your best friends, your family, people that you wouldn't think would never do anything against you. People will try to hurt you, and you have to be ready for when that happens. It sucks. It can be heartbreaking. But little faceless idiots in the internet, regardless of whether or not 3-letter agencies are truly behind why those people go for the attacks, to me, it honestly gives them too much credit. Because if someone was truly angered, they would really want to pick someone apart. They do proper investigation. But then again, we're in times where we have such an instant demand for everything. It's truly a messed up world, but we cannot let that affect us. No matter how strange, no matter how fucked up life may get, if we truly want to go on something, and it is something that we feel is part of our heart's path, we have to go for it. Otherwise, what's the point of really living, you know? What is the point of really living?
Whispering winds in the midnight mall, dead eyes staring from the haunted hall. Worlds collide, hear the spirits call. Black cats scream in the pale moonlight. Gravestones dance and the banshees fight. Ghosts and goblins take their flight. In the dead of night, they own the night. Living and dead, it's Halloween spell. Heaven's gates meet the fires of hell. Twisted realms where the lost souls dwell. Night invades as the church bells knell. Blood red moon pours its light so cold. Skeleton hands grip your heart and hold. Footsteps crunch on the autumn mold. In the world where life and death unfold, bones break, scream in the pale moonlight. Gravestones dance and the banshees fight. Ghosts and goblins take their flight. In the dead of night, they own the night. Living and dead, it's Halloween spell. Heaven's gates meet the fires of hell. Twisted realms where the lost souls dwell. Night invades as the church bells knell. Tongues break free from the ancient ground. Souls unchained with the wailing sound. Mortals shiver at the undead hounds. Halloween night where the macabre's found. Living and dead, it's Halloween spell. Heaven's gates meet the fires of hell. Twisted realms where the lost souls dwell. Night invades as the church hand and its Halloween spell. Heaven's gates meet the fires of hell. Twisted realms where the lost souls dwell. Night invades as the church bells knell. Blood red moon pours its light so cold. Skeleton hands grip your heart and hold. Footsteps crunch on the autumn mold. In the world where life and death unfold. Blood red moon pours its light so cold. Skeleton hands grip your heart and hold. Footsteps crunch on the autumn mold. In the world where life and death unfold. Break free from the ancient ground, souls unchained with a wailing sound. Mortals shiver at the undead hounds, and the midnight wail the macabre's found. Souls break free from the ancient ground, souls unchained with a wailing sound. Mortals shiver at the undead hounds, and the midnight wail the macabre's found. The very moon pulls its light so.
What the fuck? And glitches. Oh well, you probably won't see that after I put it through post, but so I do have a couple updates I wanted to share. First, let's go over the Bald and Bonkers. What's going on with the company, right? So, as a lot of you know, why does this keep kicking me off? So, as a lot of you know, one of the things I'm wanting to really try to focus on, want to try to build into the company, is a resource to help people tell their story, to find that inspiration, to find out how they can get their start. Because, you know, you may go around online and, you know, try to look for advice, and you see all these people saying, oh, you should grab this and this and this and this, and you need that gear and you need that gear, and no, you need to do this, and no, you can do this, and no, you can do that, no, you can do that. Okay, if you had the funding and the resources to put together a professional studio, and that is something you truly want to do, whether it's for arts, doing podcasting, recording videos, stuff like that, whatever it is you want to do, if you have the funding and the resources to pull it off then and there, have it all top notch, then you're a lucky son of a bitch. And if you had those resources and that's what you truly want to do with your time, I say go for it. But a lot of us don't necessarily have that funding readily available. We don't meet all the necessary requirements, or we have to, you know, max out a couple credit cards in order to get certain things funded on the business side. There's a lot of things that go into this that people, quite frankly, don't even know about. And a lot of those recommendations you may hear about, say, oh, you should get this type of microphone. 9 times out of 10, those people have some sort of affiliate links. And you know what? I'm not judging. I do affiliate things too. There's times, you know, I do Amazon affiliates where if, say, we have a guest on that, and yes, interviews will be coming back soon. It's just a matter of getting everything organized on my end. Excuse me. But chances are they have affiliate links. And yeah, I do Amazon affiliates. And one of the main things I do is that if a guest we would have on was an author, I would get the information about their books beforehand, and I would link it up to their Amazon link. And that's something we've just done. And it's something that helps both the author get their word out, and it also helps get a little funding for yourself in the same process. See, right now with Bald and Bonkers, the main thing that helps me fund the company operations is the monetization that's on the main YouTube channel and the books that are sold through the company, which leads me to one of my updates. So for those of you who haven't heard, if you go onto www.baldandbonkers.net, if you head to the official company website, you'll probably see a little banner on there that says this website is currently under a remodel, but a lot of materials on there are readily accessible. Like, number one, you may see that the merchandise links where you can get yourself a little something from all the various different merchandise stores that I've set up. Some of them were different merch stores for like print on demand services, offer different items. And we kind of switched it around, but never really turned it off. So you want to get yourself some Bald and Bonkers merch or some other fun stuff, you know, go ahead and check that out. Also, you may notice that we have our books listed under our various different imprints. This was an effort on my behalf to basically organize all the materials, right? Because we've put out quite a few books. And what I've also done is set up a way for you, the audience, to actually purchase books directly from our printing partner. All you have to do is there's going to be, when you go onto the website and you go through the book sections and you see a book you may want, you click on the buy now option. It'll take you directly to the printing partner, and the price that's tied to these will actually probably be a hell of a lot cheaper than some of the other sites that you may find our books on, because you don't have to worry about all the markups the stores do, so they get their profit as well. But if that is something that is not for you, or you want to maybe get a little freebies here and there, there is another project that has been under construction for some time, and it's gotten to be pretty big. I'll say so myself. But we will have a free download section. I'll put it under the merchandise tab on the website. But where you will be able to get some of our, you'll be able to find digital copies of many of our books, as well as some of the music we produce through artificial intelligence. Being that artificial intelligence has been ruled, at least here in the US, but the whole copyright situation behind that is still a bit of a Wild West territory. Basically, we set it up to where if you like some of the songs that you've heard recently in Bald and Bonkers productions, and you maybe want to use it for yourself, you'll be able to use this free downloads, and will not get you flagged anywhere. I tried to use some of our music distribution partners in order to get the songs out there, but interestingly enough, it seems that they have actually put artificial intelligence filters on their submissions, meaning that if you were to try to go to these websites to release music you created through artificial intelligence, it'll probably get flagged, and they won't allow it to be put up for sale. So, again, and I also state this on the Bald and Bonkers website, that I do utilize artificial intelligence in the creation of, in a lot of artistic creations that you see on this program. And when I have the time, I fully plan on releasing episodes through Network Academy that will allow you, that will show you how to use these websites for yourself. A lot of them completely free, so you can save yourself some money on graphic design and all that fun stuff. Because again, I hate the fact that people say that, oh, you need to spend this amount of money and do this, and you got to do this, and you got to get this and that and that, this and that. No. First off, you can have all the best technology in the world and produce shit content. And that's the simplest way to put it. There's a lot of people who don't necessarily have the resources to pull funds together to get this high-end equipment, but they have legitimate stories to say. And that's what Bald and Bonkers will always be about. Now, granted, I fully admit that I've integrated a lot of my other personal projects into this, just so it's all under one banner. So when it comes to the shows, you'll actually be able to find tabs under the shows to where you can watch, where you can sit and actually watch episodes of any of our programs that we've released right there from the website. Some of you may know we've actually had our own like little TV network. It's a little similar in concept, but a little less legwork. And it'll be something that'll actually help with boosting views. Not that that's my priority. So you can find information about all the shows. You can catch up on all this different content. The playlist will be right there in your browser, ready to go. Feel free to check that out if you so desire. Now, for those of you interested in Franson Files, some of you may know this already, but we have the premiere coming up on Friday, September 20th. I'm quickly just scrolling through YouTube in another tab at the moment just to make sure I say the right time that it'll all be available, where the premiere will start. I know a lot of you missed some of the live shows, but to be truthful, those of you who followed me for a while know that since at least December, I've been going through a lot of life changes, and I've had to put some certain things on the shelf just to be able to balance things a little bit more proper. But on Friday, September 20th, at 3 p.m. Mountain Time, that'll be about 10 p.m. GMT, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. I tried out a little bit of a different format for Franson Files. Now, I won't always utilize this format depending on the subject matter. But some of you have heard me mention about Sasquatch encounters. Well, this video is for you. Because dear old Dakota, it's not just aliens and ghosts he's dealt with. He's dealt with monsters too. But I don't want to spoil anything for you. Though members of the channel may have already seen the little tester video I uploaded, basically to see if the new format was going to get me hit for copyright, which it has not, so we should be good to go there. I do hope you all enjoy that. It's essentially 3 major segments, but I imagine there's going to be quite a few of you that are going to be intrigued by what all is there. Let's see, what else? There was one more thing I wanted to go for. God, I should really start writing this shit down, but oh yeah, the little spirit box communication. And I do appreciate those of you who have been sharing out the episodes, and I think I've been kind of contemplating it, being that it is going to be almost 3 o'clock in the morning for me. But I have been contemplating doing another, making that a regular sort of bit towards the end of each episode for Gigolo, just to see what comes up. Because I have a feeling we may need to keep certain channels open to see what the hell happens. As far as the results of the last Spirit Box session, I am kind of intrigued that some of you picked up on the name Emily. I'll have to give that another listen. But yes, you definitely heard my name get mentioned. And I'm glad y'all like that, because, I want to try to get some more stuff going on to try to engage with y'all, even though I haven't been able to do the live format for a while. And as far as whether or not that'll come back, we'll see. I'm also contemplating doing a little bit of a bait video to lure out some of the pathetic trolls to gather up new material for how to deal with, a-holes on the internet for Network Academy. So be on the lookout for that, because somebody's going to fall for the trap. Insert evil laugh. I know. I promise I'm not doing it to stir up shit. But it's going to be time to call it out and to basically make an example out of people. because this sort of behavior has got to stop. And I will reiterate something here, ladies and gentlemen. I do have law enforcement background, and I still go hunting from time to time. Just because you're on the internet doesn't mean I won't be able to find you. So, let's be civil, y'all. I'm just saying. Let's just be civil. Let's see. What else? There was one other thing. And while I go to try to remember what that was and maybe get the spirit box session for today's episode set up, because some of you may want to hear this, let's chill out and hear some tunes, right? Let's chill out and hear some tunes.
Sunny day, kids at play, funny world, come our way, colors bright, dancing lights, spinning round, wild sights, candy lands, spacey sands, magic trees, twist our hands, rainbow skies, sweet surprise, laughing loud, big white eyes, all that bonkers, it's our song, crazy world, let's sing along, up and down and all around, in this place we're never bound, Wonderland, take my hand, purple rivers, wavy strands, giggle fits, endless tricks, every step, our world clicks, dizzy trails, fairy tales, silly hats, crazy veils, jumping high, reach the sky, in this life, we never lie, all in bonkers, it's our song, crazy world, let's sing along, up and down and all around, in this place we're never bound.
All right. I got to thinking about it. I know there's some of you in the audience who are, how should I say, a bit skittish when it comes to something I have made no secret that I've experimented with, given that the individual behind it is regularly associated with some rather shady individuals. And what I'm talking about is the CE5 protocols. I will say this, and there's also been some individuals who have found me through the collaborations with Elena Denon, where you express that you didn't like this method, that you're just going to stick to what she says. I'm just going to say this. When you go to talk like that in particular, I get what you're saying. I get where you're coming from. Let me just say something real quick. You're not exactly helping the allegations of a cult. Okay? You're handing your power over to someone else. Now, granted, Elena is a special circumstance. And I will say this. I stand by this. I am thankful for all that she's done, all that she continually does, and all that she has done in regards to my own personal case. Elena is a special circumstance where she in herself is an anomaly. And as someone who tries to keep a sort of skeptical mindset, when enough weird shit tends to surround someone who claims to have some sort of psychic connection or these sort of supernatural ties, one of the things for me that moves this person up in line as potentially being legitimate is if there's weird shit going on that I can't rule out. Now, granted, some of the tests that come into play in regards to evaluating these individuals as a whole, you have to be well versed in a variety of different areas in order to really, what's the word I'm looking for here? You have to be a little bit of a jack of all trades in order to think of or know who to contact to rule out certain activities, right? Now, the thing I'm talking about potentially implementing with this session is the CE5 protocols by Dr. Stephen Greer. Now, a lot of you stick with what Elena says, that if you want to connect with these ETs, just reach out to your soul family and through a meditative state so that you're doing this of your own free will and volition. And about 15, 20 minutes, chances are you'll see something show up. You'll have something show up. And I'm not saying that Elena is wrong. She's absolutely right. But as well as in terms of the CE5 protocols, the way I view it is sort of like a technological jumpstart. For those of you who don't know, the basic idea was that these tones would be picked up on electronic devices during sites of high strangeness, crop circles. And the idea is, what if we take these tones, play them out on radio frequencies? Because, like, what if they're calling cards? And the idea is, like, what would, you're wanting to lure something out, it would be the equivalent of walking into someone's house you just met and you find out that they have a picture of your grandma. They're going to be like, okay, why do you have this picture of my grandma? You know what I mean? Obviously, when it comes to this is a little bit more of an open invite, which can, I will elaborate now, which can technically invite some negative influences. However, it also relies on what intent you have going into it, which is why I firmly believe, and I think, if I remember correctly, in the CE5 protocols documentary that he did, I think you could find it on Amazon. Dr. Greer actually states that the reason why he totes the line that essentially Earth is the only planet with assholes is to help condition his audience into the idea that if you're only reaching out with the intention that only good beings will reach back out to you, then you'll manifest that reality, which is a lot of the same of what Elena talks about, where we as a species have a collective ability to rewrite reality itself based on thought and intention. And I think after the number of people who messaged me about the John Constantine findings from the Multiversal Menace episode, that's going to be another topic in itself, because that is a subject that has been within ancient religions for quite some time. And there's a number of cases in the modern day where people who you can technically consider to be in a meditative state have manifested accidentally events and beings to come to fruition. And honestly, in my own research, when it comes to practices that fall under magical ritual or the occult or whatever label you want to use for it, it doesn't matter necessarily. Now, this is in very broad strokes. There's individual aspects you have to take into consideration. But again, we have the ability to essentially rewrite reality based on our intentions and our perceptions. And granted, if someone designed magical symbols with negative intent, it is theoretically possible to flip the polarity of those symbols. Okay? That requires a little bit more thought and a little bit more practice to do, but it can be done, ladies and gentlemen. So before anybody goes to try to quash me about talking about Satanism, because I've dealt with Satanists on the regular, nice people. I'd rather deal with them than some of the hardcore Christians. There are, when it comes to magical practices, no matter what faith, religion, mythology, secret society, even let's throw them in there, no matter the origin of these rituals, these practices, it's all intended at some level to be like a visual aid, to help direct those energies into certain outcomes. That's my honest perspective based on research I've done, the things I've personally seen. Magical rituals, no matter what format they may come from, it can be argued that they are nothing more than visual aids. Now, obviously, when it comes to dealing with like actual live animals, or maybe even energies imprinted off of on an object based on the environment it was in. There's a lot of individual cases that can throw things for a little bit of a tailspin if you're not careful. But in a grand scope of things, we have an ability to rewrite reality. So how come we can't rewrite some of the things that darker individuals have utilized in order to gain power over us? They did the exact same thing. A lot of satanic symbols are just flipped symbols that have been taken from pagans and have been associated with, quote unquote, the light, if you will. For a lack of a better word coming to mind right now. It can be done. So, when you take these aspects into consideration, couldn't you, in theory, combine Elena Danon's advice, the works of Dr. Greer? You can take aspects from all these individuals, see what works best for you, and still make stuff happen. As the saying goes, probably a poor choice of phrasing after what I just talked about, but there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they would say. So I found CE5 before I came across Elena Denon. And it was advised to me from a medium friend of mine that I should really figure out how to put together some sort of quantifiable system to rate psychics. But basically, following her advice, some weird shit came up too. So she's passed some of the tests. I'll give her that. But essentially what I used to do, and there's a lot of recordings on one of my old YouTube channels, still up to this day. You can check out some of the results, where I would combine the CE5 tones with some sort of spirit box to induce communication. And some of the results have been weird. Now, the CE5 app, you can get it on your iPhone or Android. It costs about $10. Well, some of you may say, oh, well, Dakota, then it should be free then if it's talking about liberating humanity. In Dr. Gross' defense, that $10 charge does make it to where you don't have to deal with ads interrupting. Seriously, people, before you start bitching about stuff, learn about how things work. God. And one thing I would actually, there's one experience I could tell y'all right now that involves CE5. This was a couple years ago. This was a couple years back, as a matter of fact. I was in transition, moving from the last house I was into this one, and staying with a family friend for a couple weeks until this house I'm in now was ready, right? So it was in the middle of summer, and my car was at the mechanics, so I walked to and from work, which was not an issue. She was like just barely over a mile. So I could walk that in 10, 15 minutes, easy. So one of the times where I'm walking home from work, I got my stuff done early. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning, if I recall correctly. Anyway, I decided, you know what? It's a clear night. I'm going to put in CE5 tones, and I'm going to go on my walk, and I'm going to see what happens. Now, before there was some updates to the app itself that fixed this little loophole I found. You could actually play 2 of the tones that were in the app at the same time to produce different results. One I would use was the crop circle tones, which brings up first, as well as the Fibonacci sequence. And that was supposed to help entities, beings on certain spectrums be able to manifest easier, right? So I didn't play this out loud. I put my earbuds in, and I listened to it as I was walking, right? I'm walking down the road. I could go about a mile up the road. I'm standing next to this church, and I look up. I could see something moving in the sky. So I look up, seeing what it was. At first, I thought maybe, given the time of year and the time of night, it was maybe a rather big owl at first. But as this thing moved into the light, moved into the light of the full moon, right? It was a black diamond just flying through the air. It made no sound. It was literally right above me. And I'll admit, I froze when I started to realize, oh shit, that's the UFO. And I'm scrambling to get my camera up, and right as I get my camera pulled up and looking right at it, it get ready to take the picture, the fucker was gone. And now I'm telling you, this thing was low enough to where it was actually casting a shadow from the moonlight. So this was not way up in the air. This thing was close. Now, granted, there's not really any tall buildings near me except for a Mormon temple that's actually said to be one of the biggest in this part of the United States. So there's no really tall buildings for it to fly into. This thing was close. There was no tail on it to be a low-flying meteor, because there was a meteor shower happening about then. And as this thing goes to disappear, I take a couple moments to process what the fuck I just saw, and I run. I run as fast as I could to get to where I was staying, and I immediately reported it to MUFON. I told them about the address of where I was, the address of where I was staying, what I was doing, and it can't, to this day, that situation has not been ruled out. Now, there have been a couple sightings of familiar crafts like that in my area in southern Idaho. In fact, going back to Dr. Greer, when he did his press conference not too long ago, there was mention of a craft, that exact format. The gentleman went to report it. Next thing he talks about is that him and his wife are being abducted and experimented on. So, there's one of my highlights, but I digress. I've had too much happen with this to throw it out. I know there's some legitimacy to it. And I'm telling you these stories so you understand what's going through my head, and so you have fair warning. So if you're not comfortable with this, now's your time to change the channel, if you will. I won't judge. I'm not going to get angry. None of that. And I've also experimented with CE5 myself and created some rather interesting results. One of which can actually be used as a weapon towards anybody who's compromised by the Greys. I think we'll do that in a separate episode. Talk about what happened with that one. And I'll make that resource available on the free downloads as well. You can already get it. You can already go on to like Amazon Music or play it on YouTube, because I've done it before, but we're going to make that available on the free downloads. So here's the plan. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and play the crop circle tones just once. The app recommends for at least 10 minutes. But for the sake of what we're doing, we're going to keep the session short, and we'll see what happens later. Who knows? I may decide to try to do a live where I have all this pumping through. Got to figure out a alternate method for that, actually. Can't really use my work tablet. They blocked my ability to download anything onto that. Oh well, we'll figure it out. Always do, right? So anyway, the plan is for tonight's session, we're going to play the CE5 tones for at least 3 minutes. This is supposed to help establish our location. And I'll make sure that it's relatively uninterrupted when I put this through post. Then what we're going to do after the 3 minutes, after that recording comes up, I'm going to start bringing up the spirit boxes that I brought up before. And we're going to see what happens. Who's ready for some fun? don't know what the hell just happened there. So I'm just going to note this for the record. Something just killed my good mic. I don't know why. Okay. I think I got it fixed. Those technical issues I was having there. I'm just going to let it repeat. Alright, it's going to let me do it. I'm going to bring up the networkophonic. I've got SB7 going. And I'm also going to take the recording from the necrophonic and post it directly onto the Bald and Bonkers YouTube. Is there anybody who would like to speak to us? I can hear you. Can you introduce yourself? What are your names? My son. Michael, is that you? Where are you from? Can you say my name? speaking with Valerian. No, no, Larry. Is there anything you would like to tell people watching? I'm gonna end this session soon. Can you say goodbye? We can talk later, one-on-one. Alright. Thank you. Thank you for whoever decided to show up. SB7. This is the app I'm using on my phone. That was interesting. So I'm going to have some updates on the Dune planet come for the next episode. I think it's best that I cut off here. Much love. Take care. I'll see you all next time.
When it's been to every song, jamming all night long. Neon lights where we belong. Dance to cosmic throng. From the hills of Tennessee to the Milky Way and beyond. Turning lives and spirits free. Dakota's rocking on. Whoa, whoa. From the hills of Tennessee to the Milky Way and beyond. Turning lives and spirits free. Dakota. right.